The Worst That Can Happen to a Man. On the 17th of February 2006, Reverend Father John Mark Benchman, a popular radio presenter of a religious program, was in his private radio station located in Orlando, Florida. It was an interactive program with listeners spread across Florida and beyond. On this day, the topic for discussion was titled, "The Worst Has Not Happened, All You Need Is Faith in God." As Father John Mark began his opening speech, the phone rang. He hesitated to answer but, on second thought, decided to take the call. "Hello, Father, the worst has happened to me," said the caller in a sorrowful voice. Father Benchman calmly asked the caller to introduce himself. "My name is Emeka Udo. I'm Nigerian, but I've lived in the United States since 1972. I've followed your program for many years, but today's topic stirred up memories of my past ordeal." Father Benchman responded gently, "My son, the worst has not happened to you. Can you still say it if you hear my story?" said Emeka, trying to be calm, but the pain in his voice was felt betraying his attempt. After finishing high school in 1956, I got employed by John Holt Company Limited in Lagos. I worked for 4 years and, in 1960, married my beautiful wife, Adama. We had a peaceful, happy home, blessed with 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Our ordeal began in 1967 when Igbos were targeted in a pogrom. I happened to come from that part of the Nigeria. On November 19, 1967, I received reliable information that my family and other Igbos in our area in Lagos would be attacked at midnight. I rushed to the bank, withdrew the little money I had, refueled my Volkswagen Beetle, and packed a few clothes discreetly to avoid raising suspicion. We fled Lagos, leaving everything behind, and arrived in my hometown, Obaji. 2 weeks later, the Nigerian government declared full-scale war against Biafra. Refugees started pouring into our village, but we never imagined the war would reach our village. One day, I went to the market to buy food. Suddenly, a Nigerian jet appeared and dropped bombs. Over 100 people died, including women and children. Chaos followed. When I returned home, my family was gone. I searched frantically, going from village to village. The next day, I met a neighbor who told me he saw my wife at Umita refugee camp, 7 miles away. Though exhausted and starving, I summoned my last strength to get there. The town was overcrowded with refugees. By luck, I found our church teacher, who helped me search through several camps until we found my family at St. Luke's Catholic Church. When I saw them, I broke down in tears. They had not eaten all day. My wife lay on a bare floor, shivering with fever. The trauma had weakened her, and she was deteriorating rapidly. I rushed to the parish priest, who came with me, prayed, and gave her some malaria medicine. Just before the priest left, rumors spread that a nearby refugee camp was under heavy bombardment. Within minutes, it was confirmed. Explosions were getting closer. Our only option was to run into the dense forest about 5 miles away. My wife was too weak to walk, so I carried her on my back. After traveling 4 miles, we found a safe haven in the forest. I built a small 10 by 8 foot tent. But by the 4th day, my wife's condition worsened due to malnutrition and lack of medical care. Nigeria government had placed economic blockade on the Biafrans, cutting off food, medical supplies and aid. I went out to find herbs because that was the only available option. When I returned, I found my children outside the tent crying. I tried to hush them with hand signals. Noise could attract soldiers, but they cried louder. As I entered the tent, I met my wife laying motionless. She was dead. I screamed, "God, where are you?" Then quickly stopped, realizing my cry could bring soldiers or get me expelled from the camp. A few neighbors heard me and came to help. Death was common in the camp. People died every minute. As we dug the grave, 2 men ran into camp shouting, "Nigerian soldiers are bombing nearby, we are running to Ogwugwu," they declare. Those helping me fled. But I vowed stay and bury my wife. The hardest moment for me was when I carried her body to be buried and my children asked, "Are you taking mommy to the hospital?" This was when my emotion betrayed me most. I told my eldest, who was 7, that their mother was dead and I had to bury her before we could leave. After the burial, we were the last to leave the camp. We wandered deep into the forest until I saw smoke in the valley. It was another refugee camp. Occasionally, missionaries brought relief supplies, but they weren't enough. I joined men hunting rats, lizards, and on a good day we caught grasscutters or other bigger animal. We were downcasted with the sad news that a Red Cross plane carrying aid has been shot down. The situation was getting out of control, hunger worsened. My daughter and youngest child began showing signs of kwashiorkor, swollen bellies, discolored hair, thin limbs. Then news came that relief supplies had arrived at a camp 2 miles away. They would distribute it at 6 a.m. the next day. I woke at 4 a.m., told my daughter to manage the little cornmeal we had, and left, hoping to return by 10 a.m. I reached the camp by 5 a.m. 3,000 people were already there. Distribution was delayed to 10 a.m. The weak fought for survival. By the time I got my share of the relief, it was 12 a.m. I hurried back, worried my children would be starving. When I arrived, all was quiet. I entered the tent. The children lay oddly. I called my daughter. No response. I shook my son. Nothing. They were lifeless. I screamed so loudly it woke the camp. Confusion followed. No one could understand the cause. Then I saw a pot of vegetable soup. But I hadn't cooked any vegetable soup before leaving. A neighbor recognized the vegetable leaves in the soup. Poisonous. An old woman had once eaten them and died, the neighbor revealed. Oh, my daughter must have cooked them out of desperation, I regretted. My agony doubled. I had lost everything. My wife, my children, my entire life. I planned to end it all. That night the neighbors helped me to dig a grave for the burial of my children. By morning, I was ready to hang myself. I took a rope and went deep into the forest, out of sight. I climbed a tree and tied the rope. Just as I was about to slip it around my neck, I heard, "Stop that and come down immediately." I looked down. It was 4 Red Cross workers, one of them a white man. I ignored them. The younger fellow among them climbed the tree and wrestled with me for the rope. In the struggle, I lost grip and fell. I tried to flee, but the others held me. I pleaded with them to let me die, for I have seen and suffered enough. The white man among them, noticing I was educated, began talking to me, explaining that suicide wasn't the solution. Eventually, he had sympathy in my story and helped make arrangements for me to travel to the US, and here I am. Father, can you still say that this is not the worst thing that could happen to a man? Even Father Benjamin, a man known for his calm and unshakable faith, was deeply moved. He cleared his throat, but for a moment, words failed him. Then, in a soft, steady voice, he finally spoke. Emeka, my son, I have listened to your story with a heart heavy with sorrow and awe. The pain you endured is beyond what many could bear. You have walked through fire, through the valley of death, and the shadow of grief has followed you across oceans. And yet, you are here. You are speaking to us today, not from a grave, not from the ruins of war, but from life. Yes, you lost your family. Yes, you lost everything. But you did not lose your soul. You did not lose your capacity to survive. And you did not lose the grace to tell this story so that others might believe again. Emeka, what happened to you is among the worst that can happen to any man. I will not pretend otherwise. But the truth remains, it did not end you. You were broken, but not destroyed. Despair touched you, but hope found you. And that, my son, is why I still say, the worst has not happened. Because as long before he could finish, he was interrupted by another call. I am sorry, Emeka, for painful ordeal. But my personal experience is the worst that can happen to a man. Follow for part 2.